they, and again, it's about 300 acres, but it's waterfront property that looks at the city of Providence. So we think there's a huge development opportunity there. The city created a waterfront district plan, which I serve on. It not only does it have tax increment financing powers, it has permitting powers where we can actually permit projects within a much quicker time frame if they went through the normal traditional city process. We've already permitted some projects and they're up and running. And developers like a quick turnaround. To them, time is money. Very briefly, some of the potential build out of this property can increase the current assessed value of the properties there within the 300 acres from $75 million to the projected build out of over $1 billion. So we think there's a lot of captured value there. Developers are coming to us asking for roadway construction. There's a railroad crossing that has to be upgraded, power line relocation, and so on. So a whole strewn of public improvements that have to be made to make this property much more developable. And again, the last one just talks about particular property that Gilbane Construction is working on. It's the picture doesn't come across good on the screen, but it's a beautiful peninsula property that jets right out, goes right into the Providence River, and looks upstream to the city of Providence and down the bay, down Narragansett Bay. So these are some of the projects that we're working on. The last slide just talks about some other economic development tools that are out there for communities to look at. They're very similar to TIFs. They just call different names. Special assessment bonds, public improvement districts. Pay-as-you-go TIFs are TIFs where you don't bond the improvements, you just pay for them as the revenue comes in from the district, almost on a cash basis. So you're not issuing a 20-year bond. So if you've got $100,000 a year coming in from the district, you make $100,000 a year in improvements. It's really it's sort of a cash in, cash out kind of approach.
But it's a long term.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a trade-off, obviously. And again,
because it's time versus money. It's
and then some of these other type of agreements, payment in lieu of tax agreements, tax abatements, development agreements. I'll just finish with one quick case study. The city of Manchester, Connecticut, and we don't have to go through the last couple of slides. You can turn that off. But city of Manchester, Connecticut, rather than doing a TIF for a retail mall development off I-84 in Connecticut on its way to Hartford, told the developer, we're going to give you a tax abatement. You don't have to pay taxes to us for 9 years, but you have to build a public road, make all the infrastructure, water and sewer improvements to support your mall development up to the tune of $9 million. And once you pay that $9 million, and then everything becomes taxable. So the developer did that because the project would have never happened. Again, once the project was up and running, 2 or 3 years later, another developer came in, saw how successful the retail development was there, and put up another development about twice the size. Again, retail is the big Cabela's there now, and all of that wonderful retail stuff that people like to go shopping and support, economic development and so on. So that's another way to approach it. It wasn't a TIF, but it accomplished the same thing. There was a foregoing of taxes to support some public infrastructure improvements. So that's really it in a nutshell. I'd be happy and really would like to answer any questions you have, or if there's specific areas you want me to expand on, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you. Lynn?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Sure. Are interest rates different for TIFs than for
Yes,
other?
well, actually, yeah, in general they are. Yeah, they're a bit higher. Different, though, it works in your advantage here in New Hampshire because they are ultimately general obligation bonds. They'll trade pretty much the same as a traditional city bond. So, but if in other states, because they're not secured by the general obligation of all the property within the town, they do face higher interest rates.
And I'm kind of curious too, you had the case study showing the different developments like in Keene.
Yep.
If that had been financed through more traditional methods, how would the outcome have changed?
Yeah, I don't think
benefiting the town.
Yeah, I don't. You can certainly ask the people from Keene. They've expressed. They said if you have any questions specific to them, I know the people there, and I'm sure Andre knows the people there, Rhett, and they'd be happy to talk to you about that. But I don't. They firmly believe that development would have never happened if it wasn't for the TIF. That the traditional, conventional, private financing mechanisms would have never met the timetable. Would have satisfied a developer to invest $9 million if the town wasn't putting $4 million up front.
So I'm kind of curious, you know, it's one mechanism to put the money up. I don't know if the town is capable of putting the money up any other different way. other than the
No,
TIF.
in New Hampshire state law, it's very strict as far as how you can raise capital. And it's
Okay.
generally a voter-approved general obligation bonds, from what I understand. So there's no revenue bond mechanism. There's no other way to believe. I don't believe so to do it other than a town-wide type of vote.
Yeah, have to be a bond through, town meeting.
But
Town
there
meeting
is other
approval.
mechanisms available, such as a town-approved bond.
Yeah, town bond or, a payment in lieu of tax agreement, again, which I would think would have to still be ratified by a town meeting. Any type
Yeah,
of
I
those
think payment in
things.
lieu of taxes, I don't know if we're, I
You
think
can only
by
do that for
legislation,
non-tax paying properties, I
it
believe.
takes us out of the loop there.
Yeah, I think that and I would recommend anything you're looking at, any type of magnitude, you want to have voter,
Yeah, 'cause
obviously
cities and
input.
towns here
Yeah.
aren't empowered to
Yeah,
grant abatements like that or
Right.
or payment in lieu of taxes. Can't accept that. New Hampshire's fairly strict.
yeah, which is a good
It
thing.
really
these
limits
days.
the options, for financing. Where's the burden or how is the burden shared?
Right.
It's kind of the dialogue. It's kind of like where we want the dialogue to go.
Now, would a TIF district have to be approved via town meeting as well?
I don't know if it has to be. I know the revised statutes, the RSA under state law, it just says it has to be some public hearings, and the governing body has to take certain actions. But I don't think it requires town meeting approval. But certainly there's public hearings.
It's
Yeah.
only
It's the bond
it's only
part.
for raising the revenue. We
Right.
go to
Yeah.
town meeting. The governing body in Londonderry is the town council.
Right.
Yeah.
They are the only governing body, as far as the town's concerned.
And
So it's their decision.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, obviously the financing piece would have to be approved at the town
That would
meeting.
have
I
to
would
go to town
imagine.
meeting.
Correct. Because I'm still not convinced on the benefits of doing it versus raising money via some other more traditional methods. I know it's a way of doing it, but
Yeah.
I
It's probably the least expensive way to do it. Again, because the town's general obligation bonds are the cheapest way to borrow money. We just sold bonds for the school district for 20 years at just over 4%. That's you can't get much cheaper money than that. So
Greg?
As far as I see this is a way that the town is competing with other potential, for other towns for potential developers. And in this case, we fund with our debt obligation and our financial reputation the upfront costs of putting in essentially the utilities. Now, how do we write a contract where if J. Smith Company comes in and says, we'll do this, and then after we have made the physical improvements to the site, they turn around and sell the improved property for a great deal of profit to somebody else that we don't have a contract with?
yeah, again, those are the type of agreements that I'm sure your town council or whatever general counsel you have would have an agreement in place to prevent that, or make the agreement would be assignable or transferable to whoever the property owners are of that property. I would imagine that would be something that these development agreements are, the financing piece is easy. Those development agreements are the ones that, drive people kind of batty because they're very, very detail oriented. They contemplate all those type of issues, that if the property is sold by a certain property owner during the term of the TIF, that agreement has to be assignable to whoever the new property owner is.
All right, I also noticed that in some cases, the municipality, through the TIF, actually purchases the property and then apparently resells it to the developer?
Yeah, that or leases it. Yeah, that's that's part of that development agreement. The development and legal parts of it are, again, you could have 3 or 4 workshops on that. Those are the things that really drive the agreements. The financing piece, I hate to say it, is the easy piece. Actually, the easy piece. It's those agreements that you enter into with whatever developer you choose to, is really what drives the agreement and the development. And there's obviously there's attorneys at the town's resources to vet all of that.
I think we'd have to study this in a great deal of detail to
Yep, this is only the start.
This is a good
Andre,
initial
we already do that.